Hi, I'm Traveling John, and I'm going to travel and sketch. Join me on the adventure. This is a continuation of our Travel and Sketch adventure in Europe. Here are the cities we visited. We started our adventure in Copenhagen, and this is the second part of our first day there. We're finishing up our time here in Copenhagen, in Tivoli, one of the great amusement parks of Europe. In fact, it's very old in Denmark. And in this video again, I'm going to give you a little vignette of different places we visited later on in the day. In fact, I'd like to take some pictures right here in Tivoli to share with you. And then after that, we'll start doing the color rendition of the black and white sketch. I'm glad you're joining me again on this Travel and Sketch adventure. And this is the second part with regards to our first day there in Copenhagen. And on the first vlog for this, you saw me doing the black and white sketch. I scanned that sketch and I reduced it down on an overhead transparency, which you see here. I applied it to the back of some watercolor paper that was stretched on a special wood mount, and then proceeded to do a watercolor on that watercolor paper as it was on a light table. Then my next approach was to scan that watercolor and include it in the back of a black and white sketch on the computer in a software program. And you're going to see me work with that watercolor as I apply it to that composition. So that's the next part of this vlog. This is the ink-line sketch, and I've applied it in I actually scanned it and then put it into my software program of Photoshop, And this, you can see all the different layers here, ink line sketches there, and the watercolor sketch I just opened up. I'm going to change the name of that to watercolor, otherwise I get confused. And what I'm going to do, as you've seen me do in other videos, is I'm going to change the colors and hues of that watercolor to orient itself to the sketch. I'm going to stay out of affecting the white area here, and you'll see me doing that in different ways. So I've developed a lot of paths also. The first path we're going to start with of the selected area is the path for the marble bridge. I'm going to make a selection of that, and I'm going to go make sure I'm on the right layer, which is a watercolor area. And I'm going to take out the saturation on that, and I'm going to lighten up the bridge. I'm going to move that up so you can see me lighten it up. I'm not going to lighten it up as much as I'm going to lighten up other areas. Now I'm going to choose a color because I don't like the coolness of that gray, and I want to make it warmer. So I'm going to choose, I've already chose a light tan, but I'm going to choose a darker tan also, and I'm going to go to the bridge tinting, and that's normal, and it shouldn't be on a normal, it should be on color, because I'm only going to color tint the watercolor down below, on the layer below. And I got two different values there. I'm going to use an airbrush, not airbrush, a brush tool to tint that, not quite that strong. Here we go, that's what I want. I'm going to tint that area. And I'm going to tint the above area on a little bit smaller brush. The railing up here. A little darker, a little touch-up tint darker here, a little touch-up tint darker there. There's some variation to it. Now, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to work on the palace walls. Back to layers. Taking the hue out of those, move it down here so you can see me do that. Sorry, not hue, saturation. And lighten those up also. A little bit more. And tint them. Lighter tint. But I'm going to go to a darker tint down on the lower part near the water. Next thing I'm going to do is the front of the guard towers. Make selection of those. Make sure I'm on the right layer. I'll lighten those up even more because I want them to stand out. And of course I'll tint them because again they're that cool gray. I want to get away from that cool gray. I'm going to back up. Undo brush tool. Okay, I had the darker tint on there. I want the lighter tint. So I'm backing up. Yeah, that's much better. There's too much color in the darker tint. So we've done the front of the guard towers. And next is this side. And okay, make sure we're on the right layer. Take out the saturation and lighten them up, but not quite as much as the front. And then go up to the tinting. In this case, I may use a darker. We'll see how that comes out. Too much color. In fact, I think I'm going to take out some of the color in that. It's a little bit too intense. Get more of the gray. Okay, that's better. Try it again. That's better. It was too intense. Too much color. I have more of the color in other areas, but that's okay. I like it there. Okay, so the next thing, back to paths. We've done the side of the guard tower, shading the tower arches. Okay, I'm going to make that selection. And we're going to go to layers. Because the first thing I want to do is make that darker. Because it's, again, it's more in the shaded area. See how I'm making it a little bit darker? Okay. Then I'll go to the tint and I'll give it that darker tint. That's the effect I'm hoping for. So, oops, wrong thing. Paths. We've done, we're going to go to the palace trees. They're too blue. Make sure I'm right layer, wrong layer. And I'm going to give them more of a hue that's typical of the trees, because these are trees in the inner palace court area that have been really, it's like huge shrubs. They've been trimmed with such exact straight walls and tops. So we got the trees done. The next thing is the palace sculptures above. Make sure again I'm on the right layer. These I'm going to make more lighter because it's basically the same material up there. It's just this more in the sun. So they're going to be lighter, stand out more. I like that. Better tint those before I forget. I'm going to do a lighter tint. Next path. So we've done the sculpture pieces, the roof. And tint it. Should I do it darker? Yeah, it works. Next, I'm going to probably do those tower roofs, the tower crowns. So you can see they're small. That's really distracting to see those selected edge ants crawling around. So I'm going to take off the viewing of those. I don't want to show them. But they're still selected. And what I've done is I created a layer for the crowns. Take that down there for the next thing. They're already selected. And I want to fill it with a color. A crown color. More gold color. That's a little bit too yellowish. Good. There we go. In this case, I'm just going to, oops, got to turn on that layer. Okay, edit, fill, foreground color, yellow, that's good. Now, I want to give a brighter yellowish feeling to part of the crown. I'm going to use the pencil tool to give the effect I want. Just a little. Now, I want to create a highlight. And I'm going to create the highlight over the black line so it really stands out. Get more of a white in here and use a pencil tool again to give it a little bit more of a glistening crown color. Yeah, like the sun is reflecting off that nice crown. That last one was a little bit too big. I got carried away. Too much gloss. Okay. Now, next thing on the list is the curved walls. Okay. Now, this is a curved wall on one of the parts of the palace. Oops, too far. Before I go too far on this, I need to save what I've done so far. Make sure I'm on the right layer, and I wasn't. Okay. Take out the saturation, lighten it up. Make it closer to the other walls facing in the same direction. And tint it. The brush tool. There we go. Now I'm going to work with the adjacent wall. Make sure I'm on the right layer. I think I did. Okay, I'm gonna have to go back. Okay, I lost my darker tint, and I didn't tint that last one the way I should have. So I'm gonna have to back up a little bit. That's better. That's a good tint. So I'm backing up. Oh, oops, not backing up properly. I have to go back to the paths, choose the curved wall, make selection, and go to the layer that's tinted, because I don't think I tinted that. There, that's better. I think I'm rushing too much through this. Now to the paths again, to the copper roofs. Now these are aged copper roofs, so they have more of a greener tint to them. I made a layer for the roof, and I'm going to fill that layer with the color. Now I'm going to take away these tints again, unfortunately. I have to make sure I go back. It's more of a bluish copper, something like that, and I'm going to fill in that later with that. I have it set for color. Okay. That's the right coloration, but I want it to be a little bit lighter. So in that case, I'm going, I deselected it. Undo deselection, and I'm going to go down to the watercolor area, and I'm going to lighten that area up because that's behind the color. There, that's better. That's what I want. Now we've done the roofs of the palace, so foreground leaves. That's on the trees. And I got a layer for that too. The reason I have a layer is because I want to tint these with a color that I prefer, which is more of a spring greenish color, like that. And it's on color mode, so it should not affect the white. Okay, and deselecting it, it's a little bit too light green for my taste, and so I'm going to darken it up a little bit by going down to this area, undo deselect again, and I'm going to darken it up by darkening it up on that layer, just a little bit. There you go. And again, it's not darkening up of the white, it's just darkening up with the watercolor and went into that area. So we've done the foreground leaves. We're going to do a reflection of the bridge and the palace in this layer. And with this path and with this layer. Switch over to this tint. Make it a little bit warmer. Okay. Now I'm going to use the the brush tool. I keep wanting to say airbrush. That's because I used to work in airbrush a lot. Okay, so I'm going to use the brush tool in this area. And right now, this is set on normal, which is what I want. That's okay on that left layer. And I'm going to go in with the color. And that's on normal. Okay, so I got reflection there, but I got too much. So I'm going to lighten that up by taking down the opacity. Get a more valid reflection. Now, with regards to this ink line in there, that's a little bit too much black. I want to get more color in there, more color of the water. So I am going to be working on that some more, but I'm not going to be doing that on the video. If you want to refer to how I do that, you can go back to the vlog I did with regards to the Golden Gate Bridge. And it's going to take too much time to do that right now. It's going to be done later. So you can see how that's done, referring back to that vlog. But you will see the final results of what I do when I show you the printout of this later on in this vlog. Let's go back to paths. In this case, we did the bridge reflection. Now we're going to change the color of the boats. The first one I want to make more blue, and of course we got to make cherub on a watercolor layer. That should be set on normal. I don't know why it's on multiply. It doesn't affect that because there's white behind it on background, but it should be on normal. Image adjust, hue and saturation. I'm going to add more blue to that. I'm going to increase the saturation. I'm going to make it lighter and probably a little bit more blue. Maybe a little darker. Yeah, more in there. Okay, next one. We did the blue boat. Next one's a wood boat. Same type of thing. In this case, I'm going to do a little bit different hue. I'm going more in the warm tones. Take a little of saturation out, a little too orangey. Maybe make it a little darker. More like wood. Okay. Next one. Maroon boat. Oops. I'm going to go more into maroon tones. Ooh, that's strong. Got to take some of that saturation out. Now we're going to go to the gray boat, and I call it gray boat. It's the one closest in the foreground. Saturation out. Look how dark that got. Okay, we're going to lighten it up. A little bit more. Okay, there we go. Now we're going to work with that tarp and the boxes on the other boat that may have something to do with the engine or storing things. I don't know exactly what, but we're going to take the green out of that and put in a gray. Or gray. Okay. And with regards to the foreground, this roof over some supplies for the fishermen, I'm going to change that because I don't want it to be green. Going to change it more into the warm tones. Take a little of the saturation out. And the same thing with this up here. I don't want all that green in there. Okay. Now with regards to these buildings over here in the background, this canal went all the way around the palace, and these wonderful buildings lined it on the other side of the shore. They're beautiful, they're old, and they're all wonderful colors. I actually created a layer for that, and I've already colored those in around the black line. Now that is strong, but I did it strong because I wanted to be able to control that by mellowing it down up in the opacity area. So they're done normal value, normal in terms of it's not colorization or anything like that. And then I just lowered it to make it look more like in the distance. I also worked on the trim on the palace windows and put a little white and trim into these distant windows on the buildings. So that's what I've already done. I'm not going to take time to show you exactly how I did that on this, but you get an idea of the effect I was going for. And now the next thing to do is to print this out and show you what it looks like finished. Well, you've seen me working on that sketch on the computer in the software program and adjusting colors in the watercolor. Now I'd like to show you the printout, the finished printout of my work. If you notice, I did a little more detail in the boats, and I also worked on the ink line in the water area to subdue it from that strong black. And so this is the way it turned out. And if you're interested again in either investing in this art, the easiest thing to do is to go to my website, and that is TravelnSketch.com. And there you'll see two buttons, one that goes to, of course, my YouTube vlogs, and the other one goes to my Etsy store, where you can invest in this art. And of course, this is the original black and white sketch. You can invest in that, the original, or archival prints of that sketch in ink line. So thank you so much again for joining me on this travel and sketch adventure. And the next stop we're going to be making is to the Netherlands. I hope you will join me on that.